Embers in the snow log line in occupied Poland. A resistance courier and a Wehrmacht translator with a dangerous secret fall in love and are forced into impossible choices when betrayal, identity, and survival collide. Act I. Occupied Hearts, Krakow. Winter 1942. The city is a museum of fear. Boots on cobblestones, curfews like iron lids. Zofia Lewandowska, 24, a nurse by day and courier for the underground by night, moves through the city with a face the soldiers forget 5 seconds after seeing. She has learned to fold terror into the pocket of her coat like a handkerchief. At the public hospital, she meets Markus Adler, 28, a soft-spoken Wehrmacht translator with a Vienna accent. He brings wounded soldiers for treatment, stands aside with a distant look, and writes words like he wishes language could undo what uniforms do. One afternoon, Zofia finds him in the corridor, bandaging a Polish boy's hand, whispering, "Don't flinch. Pain is honest. Fear is a liar." A week later, in the laundry room, Zofia swaps a sterile tray for a bundle of underground leaflets. As she leaves, Markus catches her eye, notices the wrong weight of the tray, the odd care in her step, and looks away. He should report her. He doesn't. That night, a storm breaks. Zofia rides a tram to deliver codes hidden beneath the sole of her shoe. On a bridge, she's stopped by 2 drunken soldiers. Before hands can search, Markus appears, barking orders in German. This woman is the commandant's temporary interpreter. The soldiers stumble back. Zofia passes, eyes burning with suspicion and something else she doesn't want to name. "Why did you help me?" she asks later. "In a side street slick with rain. Because I prefer you alive," he says. "And because I hate cowards." "Which are you?" she asks. He doesn't answer. The silence feels like a promise he can't afford to make. Act 2, secrets and ashes, their paths not. Markus leaves notes in medical supply crates. The checkpoint on W. Any street has a new sergeant. Avoid Tuesdays. Zofia pretends she doesn't read them and redesigns her routes. One evening, the resistance orders Zofia to arrange fake vaccination papers for dozens of Jewish children hidden in a convent. She stares at the list of names until the letters blur. She goes to Markus. His eyes change. He locks the office door, pulls a key from a chain around his neck, and opens a hidden compartment in his satchel, a set of pristine stamps and a surgeon's neat handwriting. He forges for hours, the nib scratching like a tiny violin in the quiet. "Why are you really here?" Zofia whispers. Markus looks at her for a long time. Then he says the thing that can get him killed. "My name isn't Markus Adler. It's Moshe Weiss. I'm a Jew from Vienna." He takes a breath that shakes. "I've worn 3 names to stay alive. This one keeps my hands close to the machine. I need to break." Zofia feels the floor tilt. The man in a German uniform, the man who saved her on the bridge, the man who signs hope into the margins, everything rearranges. She wants to trust him. Trust is a luxury more expensive than bread. They save the children. It works almost. At the last minute, a Gestapo officer, Rademacher, inspects the papers and smirks. Too perfect. He invites Zofia to his office the next day for a conversation. The word tastes like a trap. Zofia's fiancé, Jan Kulesha, a railway clerk thought missing in the early months of the war, reappears that night at her door. He is thin, his smile cracked porcelain. "I'm alive," he says, crying. "I kept quiet to keep you safe." He is not safe. He is wearing fear like another man's coat. Later, Zofia overhears him whispering to a stranger in the stairwell. One word catches in her ear like a fishhook: Rademacher. Jan has made a bargain with the Wolf to feed the village. Act 3. The betrayal at the interrogation. Rademacher slides a folder across the table. Inside, photographs. Zofia on the bridge. Zofia in the laundry. A blurred silhouette of Markus. Moshe handing her an envelope. Names, Rademacher says. "Give me a few and you can leave this room with your heartbeat." Zofia stares at the photographs until they become black lakes. I am a nurse, she says. My only crimes are bedpans and boredom, Rademacher chuckles. Everyone thinks their love makes them brave. I'm not in love, Zofia says, and here's the lie echo. That night, she runs to Markus's flat above a cobbler's shop. It has already been ransacked. On the desk, a single sheet of paper with a smudge of blood and 3 words, trust the tracks. She finds him at the freight yard, underneath a warren of catwalks, swapping crates' chalk marks so a transport marked east becomes W west. They're moving a group at dawn, he says. We can hide your people in a coal wagon. It's suicide. He smiles crookedly. But suicide with a chance. Jan appears in the fog with a pistol. His hands shake. Zofia, he says, voice breaking, give him up. Rademacher promised if I bring the Jew in uniform, he won't touch you. The fog holds its breath. Markus steps forward. Shoot me, he says softly, and make your promise true for 1 hour. Zofia steps between them. Put the gun down, Jan. This isn't who you are. Who am I then? Jan asks, tears on his cheeks. A man who loves you enough to betray the world. Boots pound. Searchlights rise like suns. Rademacher's voice splits the yard. Hands up. Jan turns the gun, fires not at Markus, but at the spotlight. Sparks and screams. In the chaos, Markus pulls Zofia behind a moving wagon. Jan grabs Markus's shoulder. Go west, he rasps. The route past Tarnow is unguarded for 30 minutes. He shoves a timetable into Markus's coat. Tell Rademacher I missed. He will still kill me. But maybe you two will run faster than his bullets. Jan, as Zofia begins, he shakes his head. You don't owe me your death. He kisses the back of her hand once, like a blessing he is not allowed to give, and runs toward the guards, firing until they drown him in gunfire. Zofia sobs without sound. Markus's eyes are glassed with pain. There is no time to grieve. They climb into a wagon of coal and vanish beneath Blackstones as the train groans to life. Act 4, Inferno and Snow. The train rattles through night like a steel heartbeat. At dawn, whistles scream. The transport ahead derails, sabotage, or accident. It doesn't matter. Flames roar. Their wagon lurches, tips, and shatters. Zofia crawls from coal and splinters. Markus lies bleeding from a shard in his side. In the distance, figures in gray struggle. Others in striped uniforms scatter. Shots snap the air. Zofia tears her dress to bind Markus's wound. Each knot is a prayer without words. Partisans in white camouflage appear like ghosts from the birches. Their leader, Ania Sokol, recognizes Zofia from the underground. We have a safe house in the forest, she says. But we move now. They stumble for miles, snow swallowing their footprints, bullets chewing bark behind them. In a clearing, an old wooden church leans like a tired saint. Inside, they light no fire. Markus shivers, lips pale. You saved me twice, Zofia whispers. On the bridge. In the yard, you saved me first, he says. You saw me. He pulls a small object from his pocket. A ring, plain and dented as mother's, the only thing he kept from the life his false name buried. If I look for a rabbi, we die, he says with a crooked smile, so let the snow marry us. Let breath be our witness. They slip the ring onto a thin thread from Zofia's dress. They kiss, and the kiss tastes of salt and iron and stubborn hope. At dawn, the church is surrounded. Rademacher's voice again, patient as a butcher. Put down your weapons. A woman and a soldier among you. Give them up, and the rest may live. Ania looks at Zofia. Zofia shakes her head once. We run. They break through the back wall. Smoke bombs bloom. The forest becomes a moving maze. Rademacher shoots Ania. She falls and orders them on. Zofia and Markus reach the river, half frozen and rushing. There is only one way. We jump together, Markus says. On 3, they jump on 2. The water is knives. Zofia's lungs burn. She surfaces in a chaos of ice. Markus surfaces far downstream, struggling, one arm useless. On the bank, Rademacher watches, amused, raising his pistol, then lowers it. "Let the river choose," he says to his men. "It is crueler than I am." Zofia is smashed against a branch and loses consciousness. Act 5, The Year Without Names. When Zofia wakes, she is in a farmhouse with straw walls and warm milk on her tongue. A widow and her teenage daughter found her by the river. She is fevered, delirious. "The man with me?" she asks. "No man," the widow answers. "Only you." Zofia stays until she can walk. Then she begins to search. She trades her hair for a train ride, her shoes for information, her ring for a rumor. A man with a Vienna accent taken to a labor camp near Mauthausen, left arm numb from a wound. She writes letters into the void, hides on trucks, learns to sleep standing. Spring turns to ash-gray autumn. Autumn to a winter that gnaws bones. War grinds toward its ugly end. Camps are liberated. Cities burn. Flags change. In May 1945, in the broken mouth of a camp where the gates stand open at last, Zofia finds a list of survivors scribbled in charcoal on a wall. Moshevice is there, then crossed out, then written again. A man nearby says he lived in the infirmary, barely. He didn't talk for weeks. His left hand never healed right. The man points to a field hospital down the road. Zofia walks past tense and tired faces. Her heart is a bird trying to break its own ribs. She reaches a bed where a man with scars sleeps with his hand curled like a leaf. His hair is shorn. His lips move without sound. "Markus," she whispers, his eyes open with an old man's caution. He looks at her like a photograph come alive, then focuses recognition like sunrise. "Zofia," he says, and the name is a miracle that survives the war. They cling to each other and shake, laughter and sobs braided. A nurse mutters, "Let them have their heaven." Later, when the noise quiets, Zofia lays the threaded ring in Markus's palm. "You still owe me a proper wedding," she tries to joke. He turns the ring, smiles with one corner of his mouth. "We were already married," he says. The snow keeps good records. Epilogue. Embers years later, in a small apartment where the windows face a park that refuses to forget green, Zofia keeps the forged vaccination papers wrapped in linen. Markus keeps the dented ring on a string over their bed. They light a candle each winter for Jan. They say his name out loud so the world will not file him under collaborator or traitor, but under the rare and terrible category of those who chose to drown in order to push to others to shore. Sometimes, on very cold nights, Zofia wakes to find Markus staring into the dark. "What are you thinking?" she asks. "That we lived," he answers. "And that living is the bravest thing we ever did." They touch foreheads to survivors who became a family, to embers that refused to die in the snow.